Beloved soul, if you have been feeling that something in your life is changing but you cannot quite explain what it is, take a moment and breathe. Maybe your priorities are shifting. Maybe something you once wanted no longer feels as important. Maybe you have started noticing that certain people, habits, or situations do not fit the person you are becoming. This message is not a prediction of something frightening, and you do not need to worry about what is about to happen. Think of it as a gentle spiritual reminder to pay attention to the changes already happening within you. Sometimes the biggest transformation begins quietly, when you realize, I cannot keep living exactly the way I used to. Perhaps you have been carrying a question in your heart for a long time. You may be wondering whether your future will become better, whether a dream you care about can actually happen, or whether you are moving in the right direction. You may even look at other people and feel as though they are progressing faster than you. But your journey does not need to follow someone else's timeline. Growth can happen quietly. You can become stronger without everyone noticing. You can learn something that changes your future without seeing the result immediately. One small decision today can eventually become the beginning of a completely different chapter. Maybe your angelic message is simply this: stop underestimating yourself. You have already learned from experiences that once felt overwhelming. You have handled situations you did not think you could handle. You have grown through moments that forced you to become more patient, more thoughtful, or more independent. Do not forget those lessons just because you are facing something new. You do not need to know everything before taking the next step. Learn what you can, ask for guidance when necessary, and move forward carefully. There may also be a relationship in your life that is changing. Someone may be becoming closer, someone may be growing distant, or perhaps you are simply seeing a person differently than you did before. Instead of immediately assuming what the change means, give yourself time to observe. Healthy connections are built through respect, honesty, communication, and consistency. If someone genuinely cares about you, their actions will gradually reveal that. You do not need to chase every answer or turn every small moment into a prediction about your future. And perhaps the biggest change is the way you are beginning to value your own peace. There may have been a time when you tried to please everyone, worried constantly about what people thought, or compared your life with someone else's. But you are learning that your energy is valuable. You can be kind without saying yes to everything. You can care about people while maintaining healthy boundaries. You can have dreams without needing everyone to understand them. You can choose a quieter path if it brings you closer to the person you want to become. So today, do not wait for some dramatic event to prove that your life is changing. Look at yourself. Look at your choices. Look at the things you are learning. That may already be the beginning of your new chapter. Your future is not created in one extraordinary moment. It is built through the small decisions you make repeatedly. Take a breath and say, I am ready for positive change. I trust my journey, I choose peace, and I am open to new beginnings. Beloved soul, perhaps you have been feeling a change inside yourself that you cannot completely explain, and maybe that is why these words feel as though they are speaking directly to a part of you that has been quietly waiting for reassurance. There may be a season in your life that no longer feels the same as it once did. Things you used to care about may not hold the same meaning, certain conversations may no longer interest you, and you may be beginning to recognize that your peace is more valuable than constantly trying to prove yourself. This does not mean that something is wrong with you. It may simply mean that you are growing. Growth often feels strange because the person you are becoming does not always fit comfortably inside the habits and expectations of the person you used to be. You may not have all the answers yet, and you do not need them. Sometimes the first sign of a new chapter is simply the realization that you are ready to make different choices. Maybe you have been waiting for something to change outside of you before allowing yourself to believe that your life can become different. You may be waiting for the right opportunity, the right person, the right moment, or some unmistakable sign that tells you everything is finally going to work out. But perhaps you are overlooking the changes that are already happening within you. You are learning to think differently. You are becoming more careful about where you place your attention. You are beginning to recognize which relationships make you feel respected and which situations leave you constantly questioning yourself. You are becoming more aware of your goals and the kind of future you want. These changes may seem small, but they are not meaningless. A future is often built quietly before anyone else can see the results. One thoughtful decision becomes another, one healthy habit becomes another, and eventually you look back and realize that your life has moved in a completely different direction. Perhaps your angelic message today is simply, do not give up on yourself just because the result has not appeared yet. There may be something you have been working toward for longer than you expected. Maybe you have tried before and felt disappointed. Maybe you started with enthusiasm and then lost confidence. Maybe you looked at other people who seemed to succeed more quickly and wondered whether your own effort was worth continuing. But progress does not always happen at the speed you want. Sometimes you are learning skills before you are ready to see results. Sometimes you are developing patience before receiving an opportunity. Sometimes you are discovering what does not work so that you can eventually choose a better path. A delayed result is not automatically a failed journey. Give yourself permission to learn. And if you are worried about your future, remember that you do not have to solve your entire life today. Focus on the next meaningful step. If you have a goal, break it into smaller actions. If you have a decision to make, gather the information you need and speak with someone trustworthy. If you are struggling with something, do not be ashamed to ask for help. Being capable does not mean doing everything alone. Sometimes wisdom is recognizing when you need another perspective. You can still be independent while accepting guidance. You can still be strong while admitting that something is difficult. Maybe there is also a relationship that has been teaching you something important. Perhaps someone has entered your life and made you see yourself differently. Maybe they encouraged you, challenged your thinking, or simply reminded you that you deserve to be treated with kindness. Or perhaps someone has become distant, and that distance has forced you to learn how to stand confidently without constantly seeking their attention. Whatever the situation, allow the experience to teach you rather than immediately deciding what it must mean for your entire future. People can be important without becoming the entire center of your life. A healthy connection should allow both people to grow, communicate honestly, and maintain their own identity. You may also be discovering that not everyone needs access to every part of your life. This is not about becoming cold or suspicious. It is about understanding that trust develops gradually. You can be friendly while still having boundaries. You can care about someone without telling them everything immediately. You can listen to advice without allowing another person's opinion to decide your identity. Your inner world deserves care. Share your dreams with people who genuinely encourage you. Share your struggles with people you trust. And remember that your worth does not increase when more people approve of you, nor does it decrease when someone misunderstands you. Perhaps the biggest transformation happening now is that you are beginning to understand yourself more deeply. You may be realizing what truly matters to you instead of simply following what everyone else expects. Maybe you once believed happiness meant having everything look perfect from the outside, but now you value peace, meaningful relationships, personal growth, and a sense of purpose. That is a beautiful kind of maturity. Your definition of success is allowed to change. You are allowed to want a quieter life. You are allowed to pursue a different dream. You are allowed to discover new interests and let go of old expectations. Changing your mind after learning more about yourself does not mean you wasted your time. It means you gained understanding. So when you think about the future, do not imagine that you must suddenly become a completely different person. Bring your lessons with you. Bring the mistakes that taught you. Bring the people who genuinely supported you. Bring your curiosity, patience, and willingness to learn. You do not need to erase your past to begin again. You simply need to stop allowing old experiences to control every new possibility. Maybe the message your heart needs most is this: your next chapter does not have to be perfect to be meaningful. There may still be uncertainty. There may still be days when you question yourself. There may still be moments when your plans change. That is part of being human. What matters is that you continue moving with wisdom. You can adjust when necessary. You can learn from mistakes. You can ask for help. You can celebrate small progress. And you can remain hopeful without demanding that everything happen immediately. Take a quiet moment now and think about one positive change you want to make. Do not make it complicated. Choose one small action you can take today. Maybe it is learning something new, organizing your priorities, having a meaningful conversation, spending time with someone who matters, or simply giving yourself permission to rest and reset. Your future self will be shaped by these small choices. And remember, beloved soul, you do not need to chase a miracle to prove that your life has meaning. Sometimes the miracle is the strength you develop while waiting. Sometimes it is the wisdom you gain from an experience. Sometimes it is the courage to begin again after disappointment. Sometimes it is simply waking up one day and realizing that something that once controlled your emotions no longer has the same power over you. So breathe slowly and say, I trust the person I am becoming. I am ready to learn, grow, and walk into a new chapter with peace. Beloved soul, perhaps you have reached a point where you can feel that the old version of your life is slowly becoming something you no longer want to carry into the future. Maybe you cannot explain exactly what has changed, but you know that your thoughts are different, your priorities are different, and the way you see certain people and situations is becoming clearer. There may have been a time when you were willing to tolerate things simply because you were afraid of losing them, but now you are beginning to understand that peace has value. There may have been a time when you constantly searched for approval, but now you are learning to appreciate your own progress even when nobody else notices. This kind of growth can feel uncomfortable because it asks you to release familiar habits, expectations, and sometimes even old versions of yourself. But you do not need to be afraid of becoming different. Growth means you are learning more about who you are and what matters to you. Your next chapter does not require you to become perfect. It simply asks you to become more honest with yourself. Maybe you have been wondering why certain opportunities have not appeared when you expected them to. You may have prayed, hoped, worked, waited, and wondered whether your efforts were actually making a difference. But not every season is a season of visible results. Sometimes there is a preparation period that nobody can see. You may be developing patience, learning a skill, becoming more disciplined, or discovering what you truly want before the next opportunity becomes clear. Think about a seed beneath the ground. Nothing may appear on the surface for a while, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Your own life can work the same way. You may not see immediate results from every good decision, but consistent effort can slowly change your direction. Do not measure your progress only by what other people can see. Some of the most important changes happen quietly inside you first. Perhaps there is a dream you have almost given up on because you tried before and things did not work. Maybe you expected a certain outcome, and when it did not happen, you began questioning whether you were capable. But one unsuccessful attempt does not tell the entire story of your potential. Sometimes the first attempt teaches you what preparation you were missing. Sometimes it shows you that the original plan needs to change. Sometimes it introduces you to people or skills that become important later. Instead of saying, "It did not work, so I cannot do it," try asking, "What did that experience teach me?" That question turns disappointment into information. You can learn, adjust, and try again when the time is right. You are not required to repeat the same approach. You are allowed to become wiser. And perhaps your angelic message today is reminding you to stop carrying everyone else's expectations on your shoulders. You may have spent years trying to become the person other people wanted you to be. Maybe you worried about disappointing family, friends, classmates, coworkers, or people whose opinions mattered to you. Their advice can be valuable, but your life cannot be built entirely around making everyone else happy. You need to understand your own values. What kind of person do you want to become? What qualities do you want people to remember about you? What kind of future would make you genuinely proud, even if it did not impress everyone else? These questions can help you create a life that feels meaningful from the inside instead of simply looking successful from the outside. Maybe there is also a relationship that is teaching you an important lesson about trust. Someone may have entered your life and shown you kindness, or someone you already knew may be revealing a different side of themselves. Whatever the situation, allow trust to develop naturally. You do not have to believe every promise immediately, and you do not need to assume that every person will disappoint you. Watch consistency. Notice whether words and actions match. Notice whether someone respects your boundaries and communicates honestly. Healthy relationships do not require constant guessing. They grow through mutual effort, patience, and respect. If a connection is meant to remain meaningful, it should give both people room to grow rather than making either person feel that they must constantly prove their worth. Perhaps you have also been learning how important your own boundaries are. Being kind does not mean allowing everyone to decide how they treat you. You can be compassionate while still saying no when something does not feel right for you. You can forgive while still learning from what happened. You can care about someone while recognizing that you need space. Boundaries are not walls that prevent love and friendship. They are ways of communicating what you need to feel respected and comfortable. When you understand this, relationships can become healthier because you stop expecting other people to guess what you need and begin communicating more clearly yourself. Beloved soul, maybe the change you are waiting for is already happening through these small realizations. You are becoming more selective with your attention. You are learning that not every argument needs your participation. You are learning that not every opinion deserves your emotional energy. You are learning that your future deserves more attention than your past. You are learning that mistakes are lessons rather than permanent definitions of who you are. You are learning that asking for help is not weakness. You are learning that being patient with yourself can help you grow faster than constantly criticizing yourself. These may sound like small lessons, but they can completely change the way you live. So if you feel uncertain about what comes next, do not demand that the entire future become clear today. Focus on what is in front of you. What can you learn? What can you improve? Who can you appreciate? What responsibility can you handle? What small step can you take toward your goal? These questions keep you connected to reality while still allowing you to remain hopeful. You do not need to know exactly where every road leads before you take the next step. Maybe one day you will look back at this period and realize that the change you were waiting for did not arrive as one dramatic event. It arrived through dozens of small decisions. You started believing in yourself a little more. You stopped chasing certain people's approval. You became more careful about your relationships. You started taking your goals seriously. You learned to communicate. You learned to rest. You learned to try again. And slowly, those choices became a new version of your life. Take a moment now and think about the person you want to be 6 months or 1 year from today. Do not think about appearance or what other people will admire. Think about character. Maybe you want to be more patient, disciplined, confident, kind, knowledgeable, or peaceful. Choose one quality and begin practicing it today. Your future self is not created in one day. Your future self is created through the choices you repeat. And if you have been waiting for a sign that everything will be okay, let this be a gentler kind of reassurance. You do not need certainty to move forward. You need courage, patience, and the willingness to learn. There will be things you cannot predict, but you can decide how you respond. You can choose to remain calm. You can choose to seek information. You can choose to ask for guidance. You can choose to protect your peace. You can choose to continue growing. So breathe deeply and say, I trust the journey I am building. I am ready for healthy change, new lessons, and a peaceful new beginning. Beloved soul, as we come to the final part of this journey, remember that a new chapter does not always announce itself with a dramatic moment. Sometimes it begins quietly, through a decision you make when nobody else is watching. It begins when you finally decide to stop comparing your journey with someone else's. It begins when you understand that you do not have to keep returning to situations that repeatedly disturb your peace. It begins when you choose to learn from your past without allowing your past to decide your future. Perhaps you have been waiting for something outside yourself to change, but maybe the most important change is already happening inside you. You are becoming more aware of what matters. You are learning which relationships deserve your energy. You are becoming more patient with your own progress. You are discovering that being successful does not always mean having more. Sometimes it means becoming more peaceful, more responsible, more confident, and more comfortable with who you are. This is not a small transformation. It is the foundation upon which your next chapter can be built. Maybe there is something you once believed you could never accomplish, and now you are closer than you realize. Perhaps you have learned a skill, overcome a difficult situation, repaired a relationship, become more disciplined, or simply learned how to handle your emotions better. Do not dismiss these things because they do not look dramatic. Growth is often hidden inside ordinary days. Every time you choose patience instead of immediately reacting, every time you keep working after a disappointing result, every time you ask for help instead of pretending you know everything, and every time you choose to try again, you are becoming stronger. You may not feel different from one day to the next, but consistent choices can create a completely different person over time. So do not measure yourself only by the destination. Look at the distance you have already traveled. Perhaps the future you have been imagining will not look exactly the way you once expected, and that can actually be a beautiful thing. As you grow, your dreams can change. Maybe you once thought happiness meant one particular achievement, one particular relationship, or one particular lifestyle, but now you understand that happiness can come from many places. It can come from meaningful friendships, family, learning, creativity, peaceful mornings, personal goals, helping others, and simply feeling comfortable with the person you are becoming. You are allowed to redefine success. You are allowed to discover that what once impressed you no longer matters as much. You are allowed to choose peace over competition and purpose over approval. Your life does not have to make sense to everyone else for it to be meaningful to you. And perhaps there is someone you need to release, not necessarily from your life, but from the amount of control you have allowed their opinion to have over you. Maybe you have spent too much time wondering what they think, whether they approve, whether they are watching your progress, or whether they will eventually recognize your value. But your growth should not depend on someone else's recognition. Let people misunderstand you if they choose to. Let people have different opinions. You do not need to defend every decision. What matters is whether you are acting according to your values and treating people with respect. When you stop trying to convince everyone of your worth, you create space to actually build the life you want. Maybe your angelic message today is also reminding you that you do not need to carry every problem alone. If something is difficult, talk to someone trustworthy. If you are unsure about an important decision, gather information and seek guidance. If you are learning something new, give yourself permission to be a beginner. There is no shame in not knowing everything. In fact, the willingness to learn is one of the clearest signs of growth. You can be strong and still need support. You can be independent and still value other people's wisdom. You can believe in yourself while understanding that other people may have experiences that can teach you something valuable. Beloved soul, perhaps the greatest change ahead is not about what you will receive, but about who you will become while moving toward it. You may become more disciplined because of your goals. You may become more patient because of situations you cannot control. You may become more confident because you learn to make decisions for yourself. You may become more compassionate because you understand what it feels like to struggle. These qualities are valuable regardless of what happens externally. Even if your plans change, the person you become through the process remains part of your story. So when uncertainty appears, do not immediately assume that something is going wrong. Sometimes uncertainty simply means you are entering territory you have never experienced before. You do not need to know every detail. Take one step, learn from it, and then take the next. If you make a mistake, correct it. If you need more information, get it. If you discover that a plan is not working, adjust it. Your future does not require you to predict everything perfectly. It requires you to remain flexible enough to learn. And if there is something you have been praying or hoping for, continue working toward it in practical ways while keeping your expectations grounded. Hope can inspire you, but action gives hope direction. If you want to improve a skill, practice. If you want stronger relationships, communicate. If you want to reach a goal, make a plan. If you want more peace, examine what constantly consumes your attention and make healthier choices where you can. Your future is not something you simply wait for. You participate in creating it through the decisions you make every day. Maybe one day you will look back and realize that this period of uncertainty was actually preparing you for something important, not because everything was magically arranged, but because you learned lessons that made you more prepared for the opportunities that came later. You learned patience. You learned boundaries. You learned communication. You learned how to handle disappointment. You learned how to appreciate genuine people. You learned how to trust yourself. Those lessons can become more valuable than any single moment of success. Take a quiet moment and think about the version of yourself you want to meet 1 year from now. What would make you proud? Maybe it would be knowing that you stayed kind without allowing people to take advantage of your kindness. Maybe it would be knowing that you kept learning even when progress was slow. Maybe it would be knowing that you stopped letting fear decide every choice. Whatever it is, choose one small action today that moves you toward that person. Do not worry about doing everything at once. Consistency matters more than perfection. And now, beloved soul, let this final thought settle in your heart. You do not need to know exactly what is coming to be ready for what comes next. You can prepare by becoming wiser, kinder, stronger, and more thoughtful today. You can prepare by building healthy relationships, learning useful skills, taking care of your responsibilities, and giving yourself room to grow. You can prepare by remaining open to opportunities while still using good judgment. You can prepare by remembering that your future is not defined by one mistake, one disappointment, or one person's opinion. Perhaps your angelic message is simply a reminder to trust the growth already happening within you. Not blind trust, not a promise that everything will happen exactly as you imagine, but a grounded trust that you can learn and adapt. You can face uncertainty without losing yourself. You can experience change without assuming it will be negative. You can welcome new beginnings while still carrying the lessons of the past. So take a deep breath and say, I am ready for my next chapter. I choose growth, peace, wisdom, and hope. I will walk forward one step at a time. If these words connected with your heart, comment, I am ready for my new chapter. Like, comment and subscribe for more uplifting messages.